Welcome to Civilian Jeeps. I'm Jake, and today I want to go over some Midland products that I have. I've had Midland in this LJ here for over 2 years now. I have the MXT275 and some handheld walkies for things like spotting and giving to a buddy when they don't have a GMRS radio. Now I'm going to be installing the MXT575 in my postal Jeep, and I also have the new Jeep walkies that are pretty cool, so I want to show you guys those as well. So this is going to be an overview of Midland products, specifically the MXT575, how it compares to the 275, and just, you know, the walkies, the different antenna sizes, because I have a few different antenna sizes of the Midlands. So let's go ahead, dive right into it, and check out these Midland products. Well, this unit is the MXT575 and this unit is the MXT275. This one here is a 15 watt radio and this one is a 50 watt radio. Now if you'll see the size difference between the two, to be able to have that type of watt outputage is quite a bit different. The MXT275 is a lot more compact, but the 575 is going to grant you a lot more range and distance with your radio. Now both these radios are handheld units with all your displays are on the unit. They have a microphone in the front and there's a microphone on the unit as well. Now one thing extra that you're going to get versus this 275 to the 575 is your USB-C right here. This one also has it, but this one is a lot more wattage from what I read in the manual, and this one can charge quicker than this one, your USB-C devices. Another thing I'd like to mention is that the 575 comes with a beefier antenna. Like the magnetic mount is a lot beefier on the 575. I don't remember what I did with the 275 when that comes with the kit, but it's probably a third of the size of this one. Now, another thing I'd like to mention is the antennas in general. This one is a 6 decibel antenna, and you can screw it on there and use that one, or this one that comes with the 575, my bad, is the 2.1 decibel. Now I would like to show you on the LJ over here, I have, it's called the Ghost antenna by Midland. This is the one I use, super clean look. Obviously it's not going to output as much as the 6 decibel gain antenna, the long one that stood up here, but this one I like it because it's clean, it outputs 3 decibels. When you flip the two units around, you'll also see there's a few more key differences between the two. This one here I have in the LJ, but it's going to a 12 volt socket that you just plug into the dash. But that's because this one's 15 watts. Now with 50 watts, you have to plug it into the battery. Now Midland does supply all that, that's in the box. So you gotta connect that right to the battery to get your full high output 50 watts. Now another thing you're gonna notice is that there's the external speaker mount, which you also have an external speaker here, but you also have a microphone that you can output like a loud system, a PA system is what I'm trying to say. You can put a PA system on the 575. Now both of these units are capable of channels 1 through 7 on low power, and then on high power you're going to have channels 15 through 22. Now if you notice, there's not going to be channels 8 through 14. Those are dedicated for your actual handheld units. Now, one thing I would like to mention though is it has 8 repeater channels and 142 privacy codes on both units. Now as you can see, both of these, the X-Talker and the GTX by Midland, are pretty similar. This one, the Jeep branded one, they have in just the standard Midland, so I mean it doesn't have to say Jeep on it. I just think that is neat, and it comes with that cool carrying case. So that's the one that I have. But this X-Talker has 22 channels plus 28 extra channels to net you 50 channels that are actually usable channels with this radio. Now the GXT version over here has 22 channels, and then it has 14 extra privacy code channels, which nets you 36 channels. Now they do go back and forth where you can talk on each other, but some of the channels are different for different activities. Now this Jeep branded X-Talker, I have noticed that there are a few differences with it. They both have the weather on these. Actually, all these units have the NOAA weather scan, and the menu seems to be about the same. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different channels for it. This is for your OF is off for your privacy codes, but you can turn that on pretty easy. I turned the Roger beep off. I don't like that. That's your Vox beeping up there or flashing up there. Your repeater stuff can be picked up on these, and that's where I turn the beep off. And I'm not going to go over all the specification details because their manuals are actually pretty good. If you can see them, they're a little on the small side as far as text-wise, but the manuals explain all this in pretty good detail. Now this one's for the X-Talker and this one's for the 575. I don't know what I did with the 275 or the GXT manual because honestly, once you get the hang of these, they're really not hard to use at all. I'm not a radio guru by any means. I'm just an average Joe that uses these in my Jeep. Now these FRS capable radios have a maximum of 2 watts of power allowed by law. Pretty sure on the lower channels on these radios they output, I believe it's half a watt, don't quote me on that, but if they're in GMRS mode, which high power, you can output 5 watts of power, which grants them greater range. Now the maximum allowable wattage for an FRS radio on channels 1 through 7 and 15 through 22 is 2 watts, while the GMRS is allowed to 5 watts on channels 1 through 7. Now when you talk through your FRSs to a GMRS radio, whether it be 275, 575, you can only pick them up on channels 1 through 7. And you'll notice that your GMRS don't even have channels 8 through 14 because these are specifically FRS low wattage that you're not even going to use. So FRS has channels 8 through 14, GMRS does not. If you want to talk to your buddies with these radios, you need to go on channels 1 through 7. Now on GMRS radios, if you have a 50 watt, that's going to net you probably about a 30-mile range roughly on, you know, perfect conditions. Perfect conditions would be like on a mountaintop looking down, you know, that clear line of sight. That would be the perfect ideal conditions. Or if you're out on the water, I heard they do pretty well if you're out on the water reflecting off of the lake or the ocean, wherever you're at. Now the CB radio in comparison is like a 3 to 4 mile range, and a FRS at a half a watt, which is typically what they run, is 1 to 2 miles, or you know, just a very short range. Well, I'll go ahead and stop there to keep myself from rambling all day about the specifications and compare and contrast with the different units and you know all that stuff. But let's go ahead and install this unit in my postal Jeep, and then I'm going to go over some of the menu functions as well as just my initial impressions of the 575. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take this mounting bracket here and mount it up under the dash, the actual box itself, and then I'm going to run these wires for the battery connection to get power to the unit. And then I'm going to probably just use the double-sided tape on this microphone mount here. If that don't work, I will screw it into the dash. Like, I really don't care if I have to screw it into something. Now, I would like to mention that they do give you a magnet for, say, you know, have an aluminum truck or you have a hardtop Jeep, because this antenna mount will stick to that magnet if you have something that's a non-metal surface. So that is nice. So let's go ahead and mount this box up under the dash of the Jeep and start running the wiring. Well, stepping into the Jeep, I decided to mount the box up under the dash right here. I just used some self-tapping screws. I didn't use the screws they provided because I think self-tappers is just much easier, and this is a metal floor here. So I just self-tapped the mounting bracket into the dash, or the floor pan really. And so the box is mounted. Put the double-sided tape on the microphone mount right there. So that seems to be holding pretty well. As far as the antenna goes, this antenna is mounted on the roof, and that should be a perfect ground plane to get maximum operation of this antenna. Now the cable I got going down along an existing wire loom, down in through a grommet, down up under the dash, and it runs along existing wiring. And it ties into the back of the unit. Let's go ahead and step around and I can show you. Now, one thing that I do like about this unit is the coaxial type cable, the end on it, you can take it off. You can unscrew the end, and it really reduces the size, so you can easily squeeze the wire through the grommet. The 275 is not like that. So you can see right there, that's my antenna one on the far right. And right off of it that you can see the black and red wire, that's what goes to your battery. So you can see I just put some, I just wired up the extra, or loomed up the extra wire, rolled it up, and then got it up under the dash. Now, I already had a hole in the firewall, so I run it out the firewall, down through here, hit it along the battery, and then come up, and then super easy, this goes to the ground, this goes to the hot, that provides the power for the unit. So overall, this install is very easy. Now, with it being to the battery, you'll probably notice that the Jeep is off right now, but the unit is on. You could put this on a wire for the ignition, and you know, if you turn the Jeep off, it'll go off. But unlike the 275, if it senses that it went off on the ignition, it'll automatically turn itself back on, which I think that's really neat. Alright, so here's the MXT575 microphone. Has a real good feel in the hand. Has that push to talk on the side, nice rubber buttons with great feedback. This is your volume up and down, your menu button, your call button, the lock button, the scan button, the monitor button, and the weather button. And up here in the middle button, that's your power, and then this is to change the actual channel of the unit. So these are your low channels, 1 through 7, and then it'll skip 8 through 14. It goes to 15. Then 15 through 22 are high-powered GMRS only channels. Then you can see it went back to 15. I have the repeaters turned on this because, you know, why not? It's capable of it. So I have the repeaters turned on, but yours from the factory will not have the repeater turned on, but I'll show you how you do that. So this 1 through 7 is what these little radios here can also pick up with their GMRS capability. So each 0 through 7 and then 7 through 15 has a little variation difference in the menu settings. So let's go ahead and dive into the menu of 1 through 7. So when you hit the menu, the first thing that yours is going to pop up with is PT for privacy tone. If you can see that, it says OF for off right there. So to be able to change that, you go in here, you hit your little lock button, go down, you can see DC for your digital tone, and then CTCSS, which is like an older tone. If you want to change that, hit your lock button again. Lock button's like enter. You can go choose what tone you would like to be on. So now you're on channel 1, tone number 5 in CTCSS. Basically what this does is help your buddies. Say you're your buddies and you're out in Moab and you have a lot of interference and a lot of other people on your channel, you can go in and set up a privacy tone and it'll help eliminate some of that. So let's go back and take the privacy tone off because I do not want that. It goes up here, hit off, so now you don't have your privacy tone. So that's basically what the PT stands for, and then you go to BF, or not FS, which is bandwidth, and typically you want that on wide. I don't really know, like I'm not a huge radio guy, I don't know exactly what that means per se, narrow and wide band. I just know you typically want it on wide. So let's go ahead and go back to menu, and then it will time out as you've seen, and it's kind of frustrating. I wish it'd take a little bit longer to time out, honestly. So that's wideband, that's narrowband, and when you set it for wide right there, it'll come factory on narrow. You see when I go up to channel 2 on my controller here, see that little N? That means you're on a narrowband. Well, channel 1 we just set for a wideband, so the N disappeared. So now let's go ahead and go back in. I'm going to change this back to narrow just so it matches the other channels for the time being. And when you go back to menu, go to dB. dB is the color of your screen. When I click on that, hit the lock button, see that is like a cyan color, orange color, green. 7 is white, 6 is purple, 5 is like lime green, and where 4 is back to blue. So hit that again. Let's get out of that and go. This is where you turn your repeaters on. Hit the lock button, on, off for your repeater. I like to just leave my repeater channels on. So go to the menu, and then this is where you turn your beep on. Hit the lock button, and then now you got it on. So literally anytime you hit it, it's gonna beep. I don't like that, so I'm gonna turn it off. The next one will be your call tone. Say you want to call one of your friends that's got a Midland MXT, you can choose what it is. I don't ever really use that. I think that's kind of annoying. But anyway, you can set it to whatever you want for your call tone. Now your Roger beep, I don't use Roger beep either, but you can set it to whatever you want. And then your Roger beep I've got turned on, so let's go ahead and turn it off. That just basically lets, whenever you transmit like that and then let go of it, it does the Roger beep at the end of your transmission. As you can see down here, that little red indicator there means that this channel is transmitting. Now if it was green, it means that you're getting a signal into the receiver, and there'll be a bar that goes across right here that shows your transmitting and receiving strength. Now I'm inside of a building right now, which isn't practical by any means. I'm not picking up anything really, and that's because it's just crappy weather outside. So this isn't a, how well, range-wise can this radio pick up. I'm going to do that in probably another video. This is more like specifications and overview of this radio, but let's keep going with the menu settings. So that was your Roger beep. Now this is your squelch. I probably want to put mine on 3, honestly. It comes factory with 4. Basically that is what, how do I put it? It basically goes, and the radio that CBs used to have is in the background of being able to hear something. Well, your squelch, if you set it low, it'll pick up more frequencies. If you set it high, less frequencies will be able to enter your radio. And basically, if you want to pick up stuff further away, from what I understand, you want that to be a little bit lower. Let's go into a higher channel and high output. Okay, now we're on channel 16. This is a non-repeater channel 16. Hit your menu button, go in there, it's under squelch. My power is on high. Now if I want to put it down to low, I can, but I'm going to keep it on high. High is when you're able to output your full 50 watt maximum range. So this is the privacy tone, that's your bandwidth, that's the color of the screen, that's your repeater on and off, that's your beep on and off, that's your call tone, that's your Roger beep, that's your squelch. So the only thing difference in here was the power. Now if you go to your repeater channel though, which is just past 22 on a non-repeater, okay, now you're on 15 of the repeater channel. So now when you go to menu, it'll look pretty similar until you get to the transmit and receive. Now you can transmit and receive on different settings, so you can go in there and turn it on and off. I'm gonna leave mine off for the time being, but your transmit and receive are on different radio frequencies for this repeater, so you can set them up using the actual repeater channel and the menu button. Down here, if you hit the call button, or not the call button, the lock button, this is how you change your radio and your handheld, the speaker on them. See, like this is radio off, handheld on, handheld off, radio on, or both handheld and radio on. That's why I'm going to keep it, so I have both speakers working under the dash and on my handheld unit. Okay, so I've got the X-Talker on channel 1, and then I've got my Midland 575 on channel 1. And I want to show you, like, whenever you're out on the trail and you're just wanting to spot, take this little handheld unit, and they can be up there, any part of the trail. Hit the talk, the transmit. Hello, 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 testing, testing, testing. You could hear a little bit of the squeal. That's just because I'm so close to the actual other radio. But this thing works extremely well. It's very crisp. Like I said, I love my 275 radio that I've had for 2 years. So even though this isn't like a long-term review of the 575, this is just my initial impressions. Like, I can already tell you that I'm gonna like this thing because all it is just an improved version of my 275 that I absolutely love in my LJ. So that's my take on a few Midland products. The MXT575 contrasted with the 275, a few of the specifications on it, my 2 FRS radios, a little bit of their differences, how you can use them with the GMRS radios. And overall, I mean, Midland products have treated me really well. I've not had any issues with them in the 2 years that I've owned them. It's been great quality and clarity. I hope to make another video in relatively near future, maybe 6 months to a year, stating how I like the 575. I think it's a real game changer in the handheld radio realm because, one, somebody like myself who's not a radio nut, that doesn't know the ins and outs and all the technical jargon, like ham radio users have, GMRS is perfect because I can pick up a Midland GMRS radio and just start using the thing. Like, I read the instruction manual, and their instruction manual tells you everything you need to know. It takes like 15 minutes to read. I highly recommend you read it, especially to figure out the menu functions. But once you read that manual, you'll know exactly what you need to be able to operate one of these. Unlike, a ham radio where you gotta go take a test and do all that. There is a license for the GMRS. It's $35 per 10 years, and it covers everybody in your immediate family. So basically go to the FCC website, and there'll be a form on there that you got to fill out, and then the FCC approves you to be able to use a GMRS radio for that $35 fee. Now, if there's anything in here you'd like to know that's not extremely technical, because like I said, extremely technical, I probably don't know it, but if there is anything with these units that you would like to know that I might be able to answer for you, make sure to put a comment down below, and I hope you've enjoyed this. And when it comes to Jeeps, keep it classic.